たんだ目の前に広がる景色全部が
Hey guys, it's Charles here again. Welcome back to another series on how to invest in real estate. Last week we talked about how to place offers and some of the nuances that you need to be careful when you're placing offers, especially for investment properties. So this week, let's say you've got the property tied up on a paper and you have the agreement with the seller. The next thing is the on-site revisit. So what that is basically once the deal goes firm, meaning all of your conditions has been waived, we typically have 1 to 2 times to revisit the property before closing, right? This is your chance to bring in your power team to view the property and discuss the overall plans going forward. Basically, you have the exclusive access 1 or 2 hours to the property before you even own it, right? And you can only do this if you have the condition as part of your purchase agreement. So make sure when you're submitting an offer, even though it's a firm offer, make sure you have this condition in there. Otherwise, you won't be able to visit the property. So why is that important? Well, because it allows you to plan in advance and not have surprise after closing, right? Time is money, and the longer the property stays vacant, the more you'll be out of your pocket, right? And it's not working for you. There are 2 main scenarios to this, right? First, you have to ask, are you going to do renovation after closing? If it's a yes, then if you will be taking on a major rental and a permit is required, your BCIN designer has to get in and use this opportunity to take photos, measurements of exterior as well as the interior of the house and the property line, etc., etc. Things to consider are, right, the layout, right? What we try to do is we try to mirror the main unit layout to the basement if you're adding a basement suite. We want to see where the plumbings are, right? We want to mirror, again, the bathroom and the kitchen layout. Wherever it is on the main floor, we want to mirror that on the basement. We want to take into account the windows for natural light requirement. We want to be able to use existing windows as much as possible because windows are pretty costly. Mechanical rooms, is there opportunity so you can maybe change the orientation, turn it 90 degrees to free up some untapped space, right? Change the duct system to free up more ceiling height. Egress, this is the escape window. Where are you going to put the egress, right? Taking a look at the structural element. Is it a post beam kind of a basement, which will be great for open concept? But I personally own a couple of bungalows that have a structural wall that runs along the middle of the basement. So for that case, maybe it's worth considering replace the entire structural wall with post and beam for open concept, but it's going to cost a lot more and you need to have a structural engineer come in and sign off on the design, right? And we're going to take a look at some of the driveway extension for parking requirements, right? Things like this. In Hamilton, you need to have side-by-side parking, so it is very important for your BCN architect to come in, taking a look at your overall layout, the lot and your driveway potential, right? And they're going to come up with, usually 2 to 3 conceptual designs before they even submit it. So that's the purpose of them coming in. At the same time, you should have a contractor walkthrough. So the purpose of it is to give you a rough quotation of how much the work is going to cost, and the contractor who has prior experience on existing relationship with the city inspector, that's the key, because they know where the inspector will be looking at and where they can get by, right? The best practice is to obtain 2 or 3 quotes from the contractor, right? And from prior experience, I've noticed that between the contractor and the designer, there's always going to be some tension, right? The designer is going to be thinking about everything that is in the ideal world, right? But the contractor is a little bit more practical, right? So it's a good opportunity for them to get on the site together and discuss through anything that can be ironed out. And third, you should have your property manager and your realtor who help you gut the property, visit the property as well. Things you can discuss is demographic of the tenant. What type of tenant? Is it a family, student, or is it a single professionals, right? What's gonna be the renovation finish that you will have to do to accommodate for the demographic of the tenant? Which unit are you gonna renovate first? Are you gonna do the main floor and the basement at the same time, or are you gonna do just the basement, right? How many bedroom are you gonna go with? Are you gonna put in a 2-bedroom and a little bit bigger bath and a little bit bigger living room, or are you gonna condense it everything and put 3 bedrooms in, right? Go through the master schedule, which will include the permitting process, the renovation, and finally the lease, right? Okay, and if you're not doing a renovation, then do a final walkthrough. A final walkthrough is very critical, especially you need to do this 24 hours prior to closing, right? To make sure what is supposed to be left in the house and to see if it's still there, right? You don't want to be in a surprise. Make sure there's no major damages occurred during moving as well, right? Take a look at the walls, see the floors, see if there's any major damages. Use this opportunity to measure the layout for your furniture, right? If you're moving in, and begin showing the property to prospective tenants, right? This is something you can do prior to closing if you do it right, so that by the time you close, you won't have vacancy right away. And if you discover major issues, right, you can have the lawyer hold back some of the fund for closing until the seller addressed that issue. I had a past experience where before closing, we noticed that one of the pipelines, which was running through the cold cell of the basement, it was frozen. And because of that, the water line for the bathroom didn't work, right? We also noticed during that time that there was a prior leak in the ceiling. So these are kind of big things that you can, if you notice, you can have it addressed or force the seller to have it addressed by holding back some of the fund through a lawyer, right? So in conclusion, right, half of the battle is planning and taking action early in the process. If you have your trades in place and design and permits ready to go by the time of closing, you can potentially have 2 months of head start in your project, right? For duplex, that's $36.50 a month. For 2 months, that's $7,300 in saving just for taking action early. It also means you can extract out your money faster when it comes to refinance, right? And even if you're not doing the renovation, it's a peace of mind that you are not stuck with a surprise attack after closing. You'll be able to catch any major items before you close. Having a condition of revisit in your purchase agreement is a must, in my opinion. It should never be taken out lightly. Okay, guys, hopefully that's something that if you didn't know, hopefully that added some value. And that's it for revisits. If you like this kind of content, just go to my website at charlie.com. You can always grab your free deal analyzer at that website. And if you can subscribe, that would be great. Thank you and see you next week.